Mortgage elimination. Understanding the system, the foundations of mortgage elimination. The few who understand the system will either be so interested in its profits or so dependent on its favors that there will be no opposition from that class. Rothschild Brothers of London, 1863. A confidential administrative procedure for mortgage elimination has demonstrated remarkable effectiveness over several years. This non-confrontational method has enabled over 400 homeowners to obtain clear title without litigation. However, recent shifts in banking practices, particularly banks reneging on agreements to reconvey deeds after debt discharge, have necessitated new procedures to maintain this administrative remedy. 2. The extent of banking fraud and consumer protection laws. To combat banking malpractices, consumer protection laws serve as powerful tools. Central among these is the Truth in Lending Act, TILA, of 1968, with revisions in 1980, 1995, and 2000. Complementary laws include the Real Estate Settlement Practices Act, RESPA, the Homeowners Equity Protection Act, HOEPA, the Fair Credit Billing Act, FCBA, and both state and federal usury laws. Due to their complexity, these laws have historically been inaccessible without legal expertise. Our approach bridges this gap. Paralegals conduct audits and analyses of mortgages or deeds of trust to identify statutory violations, linking them to relevant case law. This administrative process often leads to settlements without litigation. Nevertheless, we maintain a network of attorneys nationwide to provide contingency-based legal representation if required. 3. The severity of mortgage violations. Nearly every mortgage or deed of trust contains 25 to 35 violations of relevant statutes and regulations. Even the best cases identified have at least 9 violations. Title issues account for roughly half of these, with the potential to nullify the lender's security interest in the property. Each violation can incur fines up to $2,000 against the lender. The cumulative financial risk poses a serious threat to banks, potentially jeopardizing their banking charters. 4. The underlying fraud in lending practices. Beyond regulatory violations, an underlying systemic fraud exists within lending practices. Contrary to appearances, borrowers inadvertently provide the real value for their own loans. Banks do not lend existing money; instead, they create money through bookkeeping entries based on the borrower's promissory note, which is treated as an asset. The bank fails to disclose that. The promissory note is a negotiable instrument under the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC. The note is deposited as an asset, funding the loan. The bank records a liability to the borrower, equating to the loan amount. Thus, the borrower unknowingly funds their own loan while the bank profits from this undisclosed arrangement. The illusion of money creation. The Federal Reserve banks create money out of thin air to buy government bonds. The Federal Reserve Bank is a total money-making machine. Representative Wright Patman. At the governmental level, money creation mirrors banking practices. The Federal Reserve generates money through mere bookkeeping entries. This process, sanctioned by the Federal Reserve Act, constitutes a form of usury, fueling inflation and economic cycles of boom and bust. Money is not pre-existing, it is created at the moment of borrowing and disappears upon debt repayment. This mechanism underscores the deceptive simplicity of creating money out of nothing for lending purposes. The evolution of fiat currency. Modern money lacks any backing by gold or silver. It has evolved into pure fiat currency, with reserve ratios merely referencing government debt instruments like treasury bonds. Former Congressman Louis McFadden described the Federal Reserve as a superstate controlled by international bankers and industrialists acting together to enslave the world for their own pleasure. 7. Conclusion: Debt elimination and true financial freedom. Understanding the statutory framework and the mechanics of money creation is crucial for achieving genuine financial freedom. By exposing both regulatory violations and the underlying fraud in lending practices, Individuals can challenge the legitimacy of their debt obligations and reclaim their financial autonomy.